So today on Millionaire Mindset, what I'm going to share is my routine of what I actually do to stay young, strong, and rich, right? And also helps me to keep my sanity. so, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the routine. I'll just share a little bit with you because I think, in fact, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you a little bit of video, and then we can just talk a little bit about it. But let me share my screen, and then you can actually see what I actually do. Some of you may feel like it's kind of corny. Some of you might think it's pretty cool. Some of you may be inspired. Some of y'all might be discouraged. But it's fun. It's all good. It's not really all it's not something that anyone can't do. Like, but if you do what I'm gonna show you, it works in a few different ways for you. So let me just get right into it. Let me share my screen first, and then you can see. So let's see here. Where are we? I'll just go entire screen. Let's see how that works out. Let's see how this one works out, entire screen. So I'm sharing entire screen, but there we go. That should work, right? I think you're seeing that. So that's one routine. I'm gonna share two routines. So here's one. So typically and I don't do this every time. I actually been changing up the routine, but typically what I'll do is I'll go for a nice run in the morning, and I love to go running in the morning. Uh, in the morning. Alright. So, and after I go for a run, it's typically if I'm not running on the beach, and I haven't been on the beach for a while. I love to run on the beach. Why? Because when you go on the beach, the beautiful thing about the beach is there's a couple beautiful things. One is I could go for like 3 or 4 or 5 miles, and then like I can't stop. I have to turn around and come back. So if I go for 3 or 4 or 5 miles one way, that means I got to go for 3, 4, or 5 miles coming back. So I like that about the beach. The other thing that I like about the beach is I get to hear and see the water. I love to hear and see and smell the water. I just there's an energy that comes off of that water that I love. But it also represents, to me, it represents a few things. The water, it represents, because when you look at the power of that water, like fire and water, there's a lot of, like, you have to respect fire and water. But the reason, what it represents to me, is God's mercy. Why? Because if you realize, like, the earth, the earth, the capacity of water compared to the earth, uh I'll give you that number. The See, the percentage of water to the earth, water to land on the earth. So the percentage of water to land on the earth is, so check this out. 71%, there's 71% water to land. So really, if God really wanted to, if he released, like, the boundaries of the water, like, that water would just overtake us, and he has the ability to do that. Like, and so that water at any time, it could rise up and just take over the other 30% of the land. Now, that's what it also represents to me. It represents a bit of God's mercy and his power, right? But what I do is I typically run, when I'm running around the community, I run around the community here. And when I run around the community, I typically will do anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 miles or so. And then I like to end the run just running up this hill. And typically I'll run up this hill anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 times, and then I'll end my run. And so that's that. That's one routine. I like to do that. And then the other thing that I do, a routine that I do, and this is I still like to skip rope. And so I like to skip rope and I do my cold plunge. So I still like to skip rope. And the benefit to skipping rope is that it it keeps you in rhythm. Uh, it keeps your it does burn it does help keep your metabolism up, and um and it keeps your heart rate up. So I like skipping rope still, and that's one part of the routine as well. So I like to skip rope. Um, One of the other things I do, let's see, one of the other things I do when I'm skipping, like to turn it up a little bit. So so you turn it up a little bit, and then one of the other things I do in the routine is to keep your core tight. One thing I do is these core exercises. So these are pretty cool. These are fun, and that keeps your core tight. It helps your triceps. It helps your back. It helps your shoulders, and your groin area as well. So I'll typically do anywhere from 20 to 40 of those as well. And so that's nice, especially when you get to be, up in your 50s. Like your metabolism doesn't is not so it's not like it used to be. And so if you don't keep those muscles tight in your core, then what'll happen is you end up getting a little bit of a belly. And one thing I hate looking fat. And even though I know I'm not fat, I hate when I have a pot belly. I just can't stand it because I let my core get soft. And one of the other things that's one thing I also do. And then here's another thing. Obviously, we do push-ups, right? So push-ups keep your shoulders tight and strong, your triceps and your arms. So that's important. Being doing those, I like to do those. And I typically will do, just in one set, I'll do anywhere from 50 to 100 push-ups, and then that's it. Like I'm done. I'm not trying to become Atlas or anything. So old Schwarzenegger. So we'll do those, and then this thing here is just something that I ordered off of. It has some elastic resistance bands that you can use for that other device that you saw me using on my core. And with that, the resistance bands, you could stand up and actually do curls and what other and then other exercises as well. So that'll keep you strong. And then what I'll typically do after I do that is and you do this is pretty cool because it gives you different uh spacing and different uh ways that you hold your hands so that it works different muscles, whether it be your lats or whether it be your shoulders or whether it be your triceps or whether it be your chest. And it gives you those things. And then the other thing is here's a thing that I like that's important for me that I really like. I love to do this, and it's the cold plunge. Now, when I did this water was probably at because I didn't have the pool heated, and it hasn't been really warm here constantly. So it's probably about 47 degrees, 48 degrees, somewhere in that range, which isn't really cold. Typically, when during the winter months here in Florida, the pool, I'll keep the pool down to about 40 degrees, and then I do the cold plunges in there. Let's go back. So I'll typically get in, and then from there we we go from just sitting there to within a few seconds is going all the way in. So I'll typically go all the way in a few seconds, and I'm in all the way up to my neck, and then I'll stay there typically anywhere between 8 and 15 minutes, depends on what I'm doing, what I got going on. And in this case, I think I only did about 7 or 8 minutes, and then that's it. So that's my routine. And why is it like why is a good routine important? So I'll stop now. You guys saw enough of that. I'll just stop it. But a good routine is important. In fact, when I go back, it's kind of interesting. There's another routine that I'm going to show you. Let me show you this one. This one is probably the most important of the routine. So let me show you this routine. Hold on. I think I stopped sharing, right? Yeah, I stopped. So let me get another routine for you because I want you to see this, because this is out of those two routines. Here's one more. No, that's not it. So hold on. There's another routine here that I'm going to show you. All right, there you go. 46, 48, 98, 68, 68. Let's see. This might be it. Where'd you go? Nope. Wrong one. Nope. Hold on. Give me just another 30 seconds and I'll have the other routine for you. Here we go. Got it. So here's another routine. I'm going to share my screen in a second. You should be able to see my screen any minute. All right. So here's the other routine. If you're not doing, oh, come on. Here's the other routine. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Here's the other routine. Just hanging out with the family. Like you gotta have some downtime too, right? So this routine is also very important. When I say what keeps me vibrant, what keeps me rich, like all these things, this part is also so important, right? Being able to just hang out with your sweetie. If you ain't doing that, then you're missing it, right? You're missing it all. So that part is important, and just being able to just chill and um and just hang out with your sweetie. So that part I wanted you to see too. So all three of those things, because but now let's stop sharing the screen and we'll talk a little bit. All right. So why again are those things important? Like what are you doing to keep your yourself strong? What are you doing to keep yourself vibrant? What are you doing to keep yourself young? And when I say young, I mean like I don't know. Most of y'all, if you know me, you should know my age. I'll be 58 this year. So so but out of all those things, like I showed you, and I said that one thing is also the key. But I'm going to give you one last key that without this, none of those things even matter. Like without this part, and this is the thing that I do every morning in the morning that that if you're not at least doing this, then you're going to miss out on on the best of the best. And it's this, right? Getting in your quiet time with the Lord. So that part is important. And obviously I would like to say, obviously you all know that. Most of my students know that, but many of you who may just be watching this and you're not one of my students, you may or may not know that. Why is that so important? Well, it's important because he's the one who made you. Like, he's the one controlling it all. Like, this body that I'm keeping fit and healthy, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't, like, I'm keeping it healthy because his it's his temple. It's his temple. His temple is he dwells inside of this temple. And if he's dwelling there, then I want to make sure that it's in the best shape possible. um However, I also, want to, we did what we desire. When I said strong, young, strong, and rich, if I desire all those things, then, like, one of the things I say many times is that business is a young man's sport, but even better for older men and women. Why? Because, like fine wine, it gets better with time. So with wisdom, when you have wisdom, God says you can ask for wisdom and he gives liberally without finding fault. So with wisdom, as you are doing business, the better the longer most people in business don't last. Most businesses fail within the first 3 to 5 years. And then you have within the next 5 years, five years or so. So before 10, 90% of most businesses fail. Why do most businesses fail the first 3 to 5 years? Most businesses fail the first 3 to 5 years because they just they can't they can't fund themselves. Most businesses fail the first 3 to 5 years because they do it the old traditional way, where they're going out, they're buying a bunch of brick and mortar, whether it be rent or they're buying properties, and then they're also buying a bunch of hard assets where it might be inventory of some sort. They're getting all this stuff before they make their first dollar, right? That's what most businesses do traditionally. And most businesses cannot afford to operate because they're spending all this money before they make their first dollar. They go under the concept or the precept, which is, if you build it, they will come. That's not true, right? So most businesses fail because after they built it, then they realize that people ain't coming, but they've already spent all the money. So that part is wrong. Then the reason why the second tier of businesses fail between 5, 7, 10 years is because the businesses are centered around the owner. So businesses that are centered and operate because of the owner will only last so long. And typically it doesn't happen. Why? Because in order for businesses to scale, they have to be systematized. And if they're not systematized, where in order for that business to generate revenue, you don't have to always be doing something. The owner is not the center of what makes everything happen, if that is if that's how your business is running, like in the beginning it makes sense, but after you get to a certain point, after your first 3, 4, 5 years, you hopefully by then you're making your first $1 million, hopefully by then, or you're relatively close, then like in most cases you can't, like you could get pretty close to that point, if not to that point, with you being the center, maybe not doing everything, but you being the center as an owner. However, in order to scale to 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 million, you can't, everything can't run through you. It just can't, it doesn't work that way. Right? You have to have systems and people in place where you have the ability to scale and things can happen whether you're doing some of those things that I just showed you, right? So that's one. But then the other thing is you have to, like, none of this can be done from a business perspective. Like, you, as you're getting better, you're learning, you learn by experience. And as you learn with experience, there's a certain type of experience, there's a certain type of learning that happens with experience. It's not book knowledge, it's not theory, it's real live stuff. And I have these conversations all the time with my team, and like nothing can beat the experience of real life stuff. Now, sometimes that could hurt you because sometimes the real life stuff could create what? It could create limiting beliefs. Like because you've had failure or because you've had a situation in the past dealing with some things that didn't go well, it could create a limiting belief for you, and that limiting belief could stop you from really achieving some things because maybe you become scared of doing something, maybe you think it's not possible because it just didn't work out, maybe you didn't test enough, and then you just stay stuck. Like I could tell you most business owners will go through that. I've been through it. And that's the reason why it's also very important to make sure you're around people that have, and you have coaches, mentors that have been through those experiences, that are doing 5, 10, 20 times more in revenue, right? you, than you are. Why? Because then at least some of those things that you may have failed at, you can see how, or some of the systems that you need to implement and keep in place, you will be able to do those things without having to spend 3, 4, 5 years figuring it out. Now, when you're modeling them, it doesn't mean you have to like in the beginning, you should model as closely as possible to what they're doing. However, the reason why you do that is because if you're doing exactly what they do, you should get similar results. But then when it's time to make some adjustments and modifications so that it best fits you and your personality and what you're looking to accomplish both short and long term, then you can make adjustments. And if it breaks, if the results that you were getting break, then you know how to fix it because you've already seen what works. So that's why it's important. So having experience can actually hurt you, but in most cases, if you're doing that right, it will benefit you more than it will hurt you. If you got the right mindset, if you got the right tool set, and you have the right skill set, then what you're going to you're not going to fall into the trap of all these limiting beliefs. You'll be able to crush those things. And that's one of the one of the reasons also I say this is key, right? Because the word of God tells us what our limitations are, and he tells us what he gives us all kinds of examples as to when we partner with him, you heard what I said, when we partner with him, then the what we're able to accomplish is significantly greater than what we can do by ourselves. And that's true. I believe that with everything in me. Why? Because I've done it, and I'm in circles with very, 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 very successful people who do the same thing. And so that's it. So if you so the thing that I would just encourage you is to have a routine. Not a routine necessarily where you're just stuck and you can't do anything without that routine. I don't like that. Like, I like flexibility. However, have a good routine. And my routine is I typically like to work out at least 3 to 5 times a week. If I don't do that, I feel like if I don't go on a run, if I don't get in my cold plunge, if I don't do something where I'm exerting and getting my heart rate going, like uh like at least 3 times a week at least, like I'm I- like, you could just roll me up and just stuff me in a closet somewhere, because I feel like I'm just like I can't do anything. I feel like I'm not operating optimally. And it's the same thing with this. If I'm not in the word at least 6 days out of the week, if not seven, but if I'm not in the word at least 6 days out of the week, I feel even worse. So it's important. Now, that's it. Like, I'm not gonna go any further. Get a routine. It'll keep you young. It'll keep you strong. And oh, by the way, like I didn't talk about eating, and sleeping. Like, those things are important too. Like, I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for since 1985, I think, or 1986. So what is that? Almost 30 years, I think. Yeah. So no, that's almost 40 years. So yeah, I've been a vegetarian. And the reason why I became a vegetarian, because I used to love meat. Listen, if I didn't stop eating meat back then, I would probably be 50 pounds heavier than I am today. Why? Because, like, I would go to McDonald's and I would buy like 7 cheeseburgers, a quarter pounder. Like, I ate, like, it was just disgusting. Like, they had 10-cent wings back in the day when I was in college, and I would order like 50 of them for $5. And one time I ate a whole 50 of them. I was sick for a little bit, but it was just disgusting. But my reason, though, for not want for deciding not to eat meat was because I knew that someday I would be successful. And I just didn't want to have a bunch of problems when I was older. When I got older, I wanted to be able to enjoy the fruit of my labor without being going back and forth to the doctor. So that was it. And I made that decision a long time ago. No regrets. Like, it's a lifestyle for me. Like, I eat a lot of really good food. I still love to eat, but international food, I love eating it because it's very robust and it's flavorful and it's healthy. Much of it, most of it, if you get the right stuff. And then the last thing I would just say is your sleep. Like, here's my Aura ring. Like, I've been wearing an Aura ring for what, 30, not 30 years, for what, 6, 7 years now. And it monitors your sleep. It monitors your heart rate while you're sleeping. It monitors your body temperature. It monitors your readiness, and your optimal readiness. Because as business owners, the way, we are truly athletes. But what kind of athletes are we? We're world-class athletes, but we're world-class athletes who uses our brain. When you think about the brain activity of a business owner, when you're making multi-million dollar decisions for your business, like, you're making many, many decisions that affect people's lives every day. And those decisions, you have to be optimal. And if you're not optimal in your readiness, your ability to perform, then, like a world-class athlete, you're gonna come in second or third. You ain't getting a gold medal. We want the gold medal every day, right? And so sleep is also very, very, very important. So the way you eat, where you sleep, where you rest, and the way you love. You gotta love, right? You gotta love. And if you don't have a sweetie yet, that's okay, right? If you don't have a sweetie, you still gotta love, right? and you can love your kids, you love your family. If you don't have family, then one thing that you always have is you have him. And there's also people out there who we're called to love. We're called to love and share, right? And so, and your sharing is a way of showing love. And so those things are key. And hopefully that was helpful for you. If it was, subscribe to the channel, share it, and most importantly, implement it. Do the stuff. If you do the stuff, that's how you get results. So God bless you. And for my students, if there's anyone here, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask any questions before I jump off. The students, you could jump into Zoom. We have our live inner circle session at what time is it? In 5 minutes. So jump in the Zoom, the private Zoom, and then we'll get into that. But other than that, implement. God bless you. You got this.